Something I've noticed lately is that it seems like every time I get an email about someone's program that's about to launch, it starts out with some rendition of the world is rapidly changing or the world is in terrible shape. Sometimes I just want to go, can you think of some other way to start out your emails? We've noticed the world is rapidly changing. We've noticed the world is not in great shape. And we don't need anyone else to apprise us of that situation. But what we do need is a roadmap and tools that show us how to live at this time with purpose and clarity and deep satisfaction. And today, I want to share with you a few pieces to that roadmap so that you can live a life of true success, a life you love, a life of inner joy and outer prosperity, no matter what's going on. And most importantly, how to make a contribution to a world that works for everyone. Hi, I'm Deborah Poneman, founder of Yes to Success seminars. And much of what I'm going to share with you today is knowledge that I have taught for the last 40 years as I've traveled the world and helped tens of thousands of people create lives of true success. And much of what I'm going to share is unique to today, where success seems, I'd say, unlikely at best. But I don't want to dive right in and pretend that we are in the middle of business as usual and say, all right, let's go, let's create a life of true success, because we are living in unprecedented times. And I, for one, am actually, believe it or not, optimistic about the future. Now, I know you might be thinking, optimistic? Aren't you noticing what's going on? That people are struggling and people are hurting and people are scared and people are confused about their futures? Yeah, I see what's going on. I don't live in a bubble. In fact, I live in Chicago. And I, like many, are distressed when I see the lack of civility and the divisiveness and the inequity in the US, which is where I live, obviously, because I live in Chicago. But I don't think now is the time to surrender to hopelessness. I don't think we have the luxury of wallowing in despair and sitting around talking about how beat up we feel. I love the truth of the quote from St. Thomas Aquinas, who said, while injustice is the worst of sins, despair is the most dangerous. So I say, instead of spending our time just putting our attention on the enormity of the problems we're facing around the world and giving into despair, instead of endlessly discussing the darkness with our friends, let's turn on the light. Because the truth is, darkness doesn't even exist. Show me the source of darkness. There is none. Darkness is only the absence of light, and we can turn on the light. And the way we do it, we start with our own lives. I see what's happening on our planet as a birth, and birth is usually not easy. As a mother, I could do it. I could do it. I have done it. I can't do it again, but I have done it. And I think that we're in labor now, and we need to keep pushing until we give birth to a just and loving and peaceful society. And if you're feeling like, but I don't know what to do, I don't know what my part is. If you don't know what you can do what I tell my students to do, and that is turn to a resource that you seldom use. And that resource is you, yourself, your highest knowing. You're never given a problem without being given the solution, but we're so busy asking everyone else what they think we should do. You know, we ask our mother, we ask our father, we ask our teachers, we ask our spiritual guides, we ask our friends. My sister-in-law used to talk to our dog. And what we do is we always go outside ourselves and we forget to ask our own higher knowing. And I think it's so funny when people say, Neil Donald Walsh got messages from God. I mean, seriously, do you think that source, spirit, creator, the God of your understanding only talks to Neil Donald Walsh? I mean, you get messages from God every minute of every day. The only difference between you and Neil Donald Walsh is that he sat down at his typewriter and wrote down the answers. So if you're feeling despair and you don't know how to contribute at this time, how to play your role for the future of the planet, I invite you to sit down at your keyboard and write at the top of the page, how can I fulfill my reason for being here? Or how can I be of real service to the planet? Or how can I contribute in the greatest way to creating a world that works? And just write. Don't think. This is not a thinking exercise. This is a letting the knowledge flow exercise. Just let the words tumble out onto the paper. This is what most people call spontaneous writing, and I call it sitting for guidance. And if you are going to be so amazed at the brilliance that comes out onto the paper, your higher self will tell you things that you didn't even know were inside of you. So you're going to get the answers, they're going to be written down on this paper, and then comes the more challenging part, and that is doing what the guidance suggests. That's where most people get stopped because our logical minds start analyzing. But when you listen to that voice that is there to guide you, that voice that has the 360 degree, 36,000 foot view, it's not going to lead you astray. Do what the guidance suggests you do, even if it doesn't seem linear or logical. And I can pretty much promise you that the results will be greater than you can imagine. And that will give you the courage to follow your inner guidance without hesitation the next time and the next. By the way, I first learned this technique from the great Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich. He refers to it frequently in his talks and his writing. As a matter of fact, he said he never begins his day without taking out a pencil and paper and writing at the top, quote, God, what are you and I going to create today? And then he says he just wrote. And he says that this was one of the techniques to which he attributes his really monumental success. Over almost 100 years ago, I think he wrote Think and Grow Rich like 1937 maybe. It is still considered one of the top 10 money books of all times. And that was just one of the principles I learned from Napoleon Hill. There are so many, like when you have an idea that fills the need in society, don't wait until you think you're ready to implement it, because you'll never think you're ready. I'm going to wait until the kids are grown, or until I get the inheritance, or I get the divorce, or until the election is over, or the unrest settles, or the sky turns green, whatever. If you wait until everything is perfectly in place, you'll never start your idea, because there's no such thing as perfection in an imperfect world, which is where we happen to live. You just have to take a step. This is another thing that Napoleon Hill said, take a step from which there is no turning back. And I love the story of Alexander the Great, who really exemplified this, taking a step from which there's no turning back. In 334 BC, Alexander the Great led a fleet of ships into Asia Minor from Greece. And when he reached the shore, Alexander ordered his men to burn the ships as they were there to face a great enemy. He said to them, now we must win or perish. And they won. You know, people ask me, is sitting for guidance the same as listening to your intuition? And the answer is yes. It is a way to get in touch with your intuition. Usually we're running around like chickens with our heads cut off, and we don't stop long enough to listen to what our intuition is saying. So it's a great way to just settle down, take out a piece of paper, take a few deep breaths, and put a question at the top of the page and just start writing. And I'll tell you, in the 40 years I've been teaching to trust your intuition, I have not had one student come back to me and say, I trusted my intuition and everything fell apart. Never. But I've had many who have said, I ignored my intuition, and how I wish I could have a do-over. So thanks for spending this time with me, and use this technique of sitting for guidance and act on the knowledge that comes through. I promise you will be led in the right direction to live a life of true and lasting success.